AI and automation have arrived, and they're going to transform society forever.
It's a full stack developer.
Devin, remember Devin, that incredible demo that we saw just a couple weeks ago, where you gave the agents a prompt and they built out entire code bases.
Yeah. And so people are naturally worried about where is the job scenario going? Will coding even be a thing in the future?
कोडिंग एक हार्ड स्किल है, अकाउंटिंग एक हार्ड स्किल है, कंटेंट राइटिंग एक हार्ड स्किल है, तो वो सारी स्किल्स तो आज नहीं तो कल AI आपके लिए करने लग जाएगा.
But then Copilot started writing a little bit of code. GPT-4 started writing a lot of code.
They have lied about their capabilities.
So Devin, the AI junior engineer, is open for public release now. I bought the $500 subscription to go through the product and understand, is it going to replace engineers right now, anytime soon? I've gone through a fairly unbiased process of trying to make it fix a few issues in one of our repositories. I hire a few engineers now, so I would love if a product like this finds PMF. I don't think we're there yet. Let me give you a TLDR. I tried to solve 3 issues using it on a fairly simple repository. It was not able to solve 2 of them. The third one, it sort of solved partly and then eventually got stuck. So I think the product hasn't changed in the last 6 months. I've seen initial demos. It looks very similar. What has changed is a lot of polishes and pizzazz around it. It connects directly to your Slack. It is able to create pull requests directly into your code base. So I think the thing that has changed is that they've made it look very close to a real engineer, a real human that you can tag on Slack that can create issues and pull requests. That said, the underlying LLM is still the same, right? So the powers that it has are very similar to what you would have locally if you're using something like Cursor, GitHub Copilot, SuperMaven. So long story short, I think unless there's a 10x improvement in LLMs, you'd find fairly similar results if you're working locally using GitHub Copilot and pushing and merging compared to just delegating the whole task to something like Devin. Will it find product market fit eventually? Unsure if this product would. I'm not being critic here. I love GitHub Copilot or AI tools generally. I feel cloud tools for building your products haven't found PMF generally. Something like Replit is not used for a fully fledged product. People don't use GitHub Copilot as much. People want to do local development, which is why it makes sense to have a VS Code extension compared to a full-blown engineer. That said, if there is a 10x improvement somewhere, if they're able to do something at the LLM level, if AGI comes eventually, then something like this would make a lot of sense. Also, it's fairly expensive right now. I would assume their margins are crazy and their retention would be fairly poor because I would not, even though I've paid for it now, which is almost like 40,000 rupees, would have been much easier for me to just give this to an engineer for a month. I don't think I'll use it after today for no reason other than, it'll take me more time to figure out what's up. And, I'll spend more time looking at the fanciness and understanding how this product is working than in providing any value at this point compared to, a $20 subscription to GitHub Copilot. So those are the initial thoughts. I was super excited to try it out. I was hoping something fancy based on the pricing of $500 a month, but it looks fairly similar to where it was 6 months ago. That said, they have great GitHub demos that they've shown and issues that it has actually solved. So look at them, be aware of it, but this video should take you through a full-blown demo of what they've produced and what can you expect if you're thinking of buying the $500 subscription to a junior engineer. PS, don't buy the subscription if you're not technical. At some point, you'll have to dive in and look at the code base. So if you're a marketeer thinking of this providing a lot of value at $500, let me tell you it won't. If you're an engineer, it may or may not provide you value. With that, let's get into the video. Right. Step 1 is signing up for Devin. As I said, it's publicly available now. So if you sign up, as long as you pay $500, you can test out the product yourself. This is what the onboarding looks like. Let me put my name, connect my GitHub, and connect my organization. And next up, I need to pay for it. So let me pay around $500 and then we'll go from there. All right, folks, let's pay for it and see how it goes. Purchase subscription. I think it's around $500 a month. Yup. Pretty expensive video, guys. Oh, you guys can't see. But it's 42,000 rupees. Let's see how it goes. Let's get right into it. All right, guys, I've gone through the onboarding. Let me take you through it really quickly. It asks you for your name, gives you some sort of greetings. It says GitLab and Bitbucket are coming soon. Thankfully for us, most of the things are on GitHub. This is my organization where most of our code is there. We've purchased the meeting plan or whatever, the $500 plan, the Teams plan for now. And let's click on start using Devin and see how it goes. Step one, unexpectedly is connecting GitHub. They have pretty decent onboarding, I would say. This is how you would onboard a random engineer as well. I have a few repositories. I'll probably just connect it to Code100X for now. Then we'll go from there. I'm giving it access to all repositories in Code100X. Authorize Devin for the integration. Connecting Slack, that is interesting. I don't think I have Slack yet. So let me quickly create. We do have one for 𝗟𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀, so let me just connect it there. Connect Slack organization. Allow it access on everything. And I've received an OTP. That's why developers are dumb at these things. AI isn't. Slack is connected. Link the user. I'd assume this will be like a Devin user. Okay, there we go. Invite teammates. I think I'm fine for now. Can I skip through that? Nope. Yeah, I can. My workspace, set up your first repository. My workspace resets a saved state for every new session. Let's set up a repository to include this saved state. Interesting. Setup significantly improves Devin's performance on your code base. I would assume this is them going through our repositories and, indexing all the data somewhere in some vector database or otherwise. So let's give it access to an easy one to begin with. Daily code would probably be it. I've lost context on this repository, honestly. So we'll see. Well, we'll see if it gets more context than I do. Then works on the machine you're seeing. Please install dependencies as you would with a new hire. Missing dependencies due to Devin being slow and unreliable. Interesting. They give you access to a machine. I would assume this is a pod or whatever, a container somewhere that dies from time to time, but I could be wrong. Devin works on the machine you're seeing. Please install dependencies as you would for a new hire. Missing dependencies can lead for it to be slow and unreliable. All right, that looks fairly polished, honestly. Feels like I'm onboarding a new engineer, which is always a task that engineers dread. Alrighty, seems like my machine is up. Begin the setup. Wide screen for a long time. There we go. I have access to my repository over here. I think I'm okay with this specific theme. Okay, they don't give you access to a machine. This seems like based on how quick it is, it's mostly running locally inside my browser and could either be a machine or be web containers. Now I'm curious. But let's assume it's just a machine. Let's see if it has all the dependencies. Does it have, I think we're using PNPM and it does have PNPM, but we don't use PNPM, it seems. What do we use here? We use yarn. So let's see if it has yarn. And it does. It seems to work as expected. So I don't think I need to add any dependencies on top of this. I can say done. Upkeep. That's how you clone the repository. That looks fine. And how do you update dependencies? You do a yarn install here. That looks decent. And let's try to just confirm by going through the terminal here. Why have there two CDs? Seems like their copy button is broken. When I do a yarn install, seems to work, so I think we're fine. Cool. So upkeep is done. This is how it can pull the latest code base. This is how it can install new dependencies. Done and done. And lastly, tell Devin how to verify and submit changes to the repository. Devin will always see these instructions when working on this repository. Advise on how to run tests, formatting, PR execution, so on and so forth. Seems like they've already generated it for me. Two options to run it locally: Docker Compose Watch or manually by running this. That looks decent. Code quality before submitting a PR, run yarn lint. That looks right. Yarn run format for formatting it. PR checks automatically linting and formatting. Merging to main deploys to staging. Merging to production deploys to production. That looks decent. This specific project is deployed on staging.projects.100xapps.com and projects.100xapps.com based on whether you're using the staging environment, which is synced to the develop branch, and then this is probably synced to the master or the production branch. So this looks decent, better than I would have hoped for. No real, hallucinations already. So it seems like a polished product. I would click on save here and finish. After completing the setup, it may take up to 10 minutes. Until the save is complete, any Devin sessions started will not use the setup. Alrighty. So we'll wait for 10 minutes, wait for it to set it up, and then we'll go from there. All right, folks, I've onboarded one of my repositories. We'll now try to assign it some issues and see how well it performs on some real production issues on the repository. This is what the dashboard looks like right now. I've gone through the onboarding process. The last step is done as well. I'm not inviting any teammates for now. So I'm going to skip the rest of onboarding, specifically inviting teammates. And now it says, after connecting Slack, just tag Devin in a thread to get started. All right, that looks like a good start. It asks, let's just try this. It says, hey, Devin, please verify that you can access this repository, run lint, and open a dummy draft PR with a simple change. Let's see if it's able to do that. So let me go to 𝗟𝗶𝗲𝗶𝗀𝗀 Slack. Make people a little anxious over here by tagging Devin. And let's see how it performs. Oh, it's not invited. All right, let's see what it replies with. Devin is ready. You can now send messages. Snapshot dev environment. This thing was used. To mute Devin sent. This thing you can track the process progress here. I would assume that's this specific thread. Congrats on starting your first session. I'm excited to work with you. Here are some things that to know about working with me. That looks decent. Give me a task that you know how to do yourself. Tell me how to test it and check that I'm on the right track. Keep sessions under 3 hours to break down big tasks. Share detailed requirements upfront. Invest in coaching me by providing feedback in chat. I'll improve over time. I'll verify access to the repo, so on and so forth. All right. Let's give that another try. Okay, there you go. It was just taking time. I'll verify all 3 capabilities right away. First, I'll check if I can access the repo. I sent the same message here because I was a little impatient. And it's responded with a similar thing. It's trying to do that. Let's see how long it takes. It's 12:22 right now. All right, it's 12:24. So it took it 2 minutes. It says, I'll verify access to this thing. I encountered an issue while trying to run the lint code. The command failed. It appears there to be a configuration issue. According to best practices, I should not attempt to fix configuration issue myself. Would you like me to continue with creating a draft PR? Wait for some instructions. Okay, that's pretty good actually. I think lint does indeed fail. So let me do that. Continue without creating a draft PR. Oh, sorry, continue with creating a draft PR. Let's see how long it takes for it to do that. It responded back with, I'll proceed with creating a draft PR. I'll make a simple change to the README formatting. And someone reacted with a happy emoji. Surprisingly, the other thread, it said something similar, but it did create a PR. So let's see what the PR looks like. It is a draft PR. It's created by Devin AI integration. If I look at the files changed, yeah, it looks like a decent change, honestly. Adding bash over here, so we get decent color coding. Option 1, option 2, just adding indexes everywhere, which honestly not the worst change in the world. So let's merge that and go from there. It seems like it's testing, let's mark it for ready for review and just merge it and go from there. Right, it took it like 5 minutes to let us know that everything is working. It's able to create a PR. It created a very simple PR, updated README. The one thing you learn from this is you at least don't need to update READMEs anymore, and AI can do that for you. Next up, let's give it a real issue. All right, I was able to clean up the README, create a simple draft PR. Now let's try to give it a real issue. Here are the issue lists on projects.100xdevs.com. Again, this is the platform that we're trying to work upon, fix issues upon. Let's try to find an issue over here that should be easy for an AI to solve. If you write the right context in OpenAI, ChatGPT, it gives you a response that you have to manually paste over here. Let's see if Devin can do the same and create a draft PR for us. Oh, that looks like a great one. We don't have pagination here yet. So all the projects that you see are, directly over here. Let me turn on dark mode. Which means there's no real sense of this bottom bar, honestly. Either we should add pagination both on the backend and the front end, or at the very least, add pagination on the front end. On the front end, we should be able to go from page 1 to page 2 to page 3, even if we're not hitting the backend to get back the next list of projects. So let's try to see if it can fix it. I think all the nodes are showing all at once by default, and all are selected on the drop-down menu. And then there is no use of pagination. Exactly. I think that's what's happening as well. If we want to show limited nodes in the first page, then I can fix it. Is this necessary? Can you assign this to me? All right. Someone did create a PR for it. Let's look at the files changed. It's around 28 lines of code that have been changed. So let's see if Devin can fix it. At Devin, can you fix this specific PR? So let's see if it is able to do that. It's 12:37 right now. So let's see how long it takes for it to create a draft PR for it. All right. So it generated a plan for me right away. It said, I'll take a look at the issue in the daily code repository and work on fixing it. I'll first work on a plan. If you want me to confirm the plan with you, click on this button. I did not. Here's my plan. This is what the plan looks like. It seems like it first creates a very elaborate plan. That's the first call it's making to an LLM. And the LLM here is telling you, fix pagination controls that are not being properly worked, clicking the previous and the next buttons. The page content is not updating when navigating. So I don't think it understood the problem very well because the problem isn't that next and previous aren't working. The problem is that we're just rendering everything in the first go. Create a new branch for the fix, which will be done by this specific command. I don't know why they're adding the timestamp here. Add use router hook in blog.tsx to handle the route change. Okie dokie. Add use effect to handle the route change and force a re-render. Alrighty. Update custom pagination to use router.push instead of link for better client-side navigation. Replace link component with router.push and test the changes. Navigate to a track with multiple problems. All right, I think it will be very confused when trying to fix this PR based on the steps that it has created. It's nice what it's done. It's tried to create a plan. But from what I can get, if a developer would create a plan in front of me like this, I would ask a few questions and ask them to change a few things. It has not done that. Also, I don't know if it has any data to test pagination. So there's a high probability it's not able to test it very well because, well, there's a seed.ts file that we have. Let me show you. We have a file that you can run to seed some data in there, hopefully. Packages, db, prisma, seed.ts. But I'm unsure if it ever runs this and seeds the data in the database so it can test everything well. But we'll see. One more thing I saw was you can actually track all the changes here. This is the one that's currently being worked on. So if you look at this, you can actually follow Devin and see what it's doing. So it created the plan which we already saw, and I think now it's executing the plan. Devin is currently running the development server to test navigation. All right, yeah, and there you go. It's stuck right on authentication. It opened this, browser opened this. I don't know how it got auto redirected to auth. Also did not need to because even if I'm not logged in, I can still see everything. So I don't have to log in to fix this issue. But let's see. Editor open.env.example_file, which is this one right here. I can actually follow through everything it had done. Their UI is fantastic. Like everything is nailed. All the T's are crossed. But it's a fancy product, but under the hood is still using, an LLM which has restrictions to how well it can, solve this issue. Oh, well, it did open seed data.ts. I might have spoken too soon. It ran. Well, one thing I did not expect it to do, which it did, is at least it's trying to migrate the database, and then it probably saw there is no database URL. And now let's see if it creates a database URL or containerizes the application. Here is the problem, I think. The problem is, not all code bases are written in an AI-friendly fashion. For example, there's a Docker file here. It did not end up using the Docker file. Well, there you go. But if it was, I think if the code was written in a more AI-friendly fashion, it would have been easier for it to figure out things. It still isn't doing too bad. It opened .env. It'll probably try to update .env over there, but the question really is, will it be able to start a database? It ran npx generate, which did generate everything. So it seems like it did create the right .env file. Would be nice if I can see it. And it ran npx prisma generate to generate the Prisma client. Well, it was able to generate it, which it can do without the database URL. Hold on. Oh, it did create a database URL. Postgres database, this thing will be public. With public schema, this thing was successfully reset. Very cool. So it does create an AWS Postgres server for me. So it's smart enough to do that. Very surprising. This is the database URL. This is the DB username, and I'm assuming there's a password somewhere here. This is super interesting. They've covered this corner case, which I thought they wouldn't, which is they created a database for me and they're migrating that database. Now it opened tracks. It's seeing a 404 for some reason, but I'm sure it'll figure it out now. I'm getting more confident in its abilities. That said, this seems like a decentish attack vector. It's creating databases for me, which, what if I create a very big database or, create multiple databases? Because I'm sure this AI has access to create databases, long story short. Unless they have limits to how many databases I can create thousands of databases in their AWS account, which isn't the best thing in the world, but we'll see. Very slow, very dumb. No, not very dumb. Like, it's actually pretty smart. But yeah, what are you doing?
I guess यही बोल रहे हैं
All right, folks. Seems like it's done. It just let me know it has created a pull request here. So let's try to go through its changes. More changes than the other pull requests we saw, but let's see what it says. Added proper client-side navigation, forced re-render whenever problem changes. It's like an anti-pattern that you shouldn't follow. Updated this thing to use router.push and tested in both legacy and new UI modes. Interesting. It says it's tested, so I'm excited. Whenever problem.id changes on blog.tsx, it refreshes. That looks totally wrong because this blog.tsx, if I'm not wrong, is for this page, projects.100xsteps.com / a specific track. Like this renders the blog component. And what we wanted a fix for was here on the landing page. So that looks wrong. Let's go back here. Oh, sorry, that's the original PR of a human. Custom pagination.tsx. I'm assuming it understood the problem incorrectly, and I think it's fixing pagination or trying to fix pagination here in this bottom bar, previous and next, rather than fixing it the other place. But this isn't broken, is my guess. So let's look at that again. It replaced these links with buttons, which is bad because if you have these links, then Next.js will prefetch some pages. For example, if you go here, and let me open the network tab and show you. If I click on next, we get back the current page as well as the next page. Next.js will prefetch pages if they're already in a button somewhere here. If I add a link tag like we did over here, then if I have prefetch set to true, then it will prefetch the next page. That gives us fast navigation. When I'm on this specific page, the next page is already fetched. You can also see that here. Okay, when I'm on page, this one, the next page also comes. Let's see if I can show it better. If I go to the next page, there's not just one page that came. Page number 6, page number 7 also came. So that when I go to, I'm on page 6 right now. When I go to page number 7, it's already prefetched for me. If we do what the AI did over here, if we replace it with a button, then that prefetching goes away, which is bad. Then, it'll be really slow to fetch the next page. Whenever the user clicks on the next button, it'll become slower. So it was consciously added over here with prefetch. So that's bad. Long story short, it fixed pagination in the wrong place where it wasn't even broken in the first place. And number 2, it fixed it in a wrong way. Like, I don't know why it chose that specific route. This seems like a very anti-pattern to refresh, do a router.refresh or force re-renders whenever the problem ID changes. I would discard this for now, but I'll try another issue. If a user would have created this issue, I would immediately close it and tell them, this just looks wrong. I wouldn't spend too much time trying to explain why it's wrong, unless I'm in the mood. Most of the times, this would be a pretty bad fix, but that's fine. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. And let's try to see if it can solve maybe a slightly simpler issue. Alrighty, folks, I took a mild detour. Whenever a platform like this is released, to the public, it's the best time to find a vulnerability. The early bugs in Facebook were found right after a feature was released in Facebook. I'm not saying I found anything. I found something, I don't know. I wouldn't call it trivial either. I wouldn't call it a 0-day vulnerability either, somewhere in the middle. I've reported it to the team. We'll see how that goes. But I'm not going to share too much about what that is, but feel free to explore Devin and see if you can find any prompt injections or some way to steal data from other users, things like these. These are this is the time to do it because one, AI has been given a lot of control, so there's a high probability AI can access data that I shouldn't have access to, and I can prompt inject to get it. And there are shared resources, so you can look around there and try to figure out what's up, and if there's a way to find a vulnerability, report it to the team, get a bounty for it. Coming back to the original problem, what were we doing? We were trying to solve / make it solve a few issues. So let's go back to our repository. That's code100x/daily_code. Let me find another issue, probably a simpler one, and see if it can solve it. Loading skeletons is shown while seeing the tracks, even if the tracks are empty or after filter sort action. I'm just trying to find one that an AI can understand better, or we're sure it should be able to solve it. Layout issues in the PDF. Yeah, I think that's too much for it. Unresponsive image in search bar on smaller screens. Let's see. Make it smaller. Oh, there we go. Unsure if it's very easy for an AI to fix. Let's look at the fix that someone else made. It's a 13-liner. So I would assume it's not too difficult to fix. So let's give it that. Let's see if Devin can fix this specific issue. I'll try to recreate it as well while it's trying to fix it, because it, of course, takes longer than you would hope. I would assume it'll take like, I don't know, 10 minutes to solve it. So while that is happening, let me quickly try to see, is this reproducible? Let's go to projects.headexsteps.whoopsie-daisy. Whoopsie-daisy part 2. I think this one's fine. Let's try to resize it and make it really small. I'll need a mobile view for this. Yeah, that looks bad on an extremely small device, honestly. Unsure if it's a very big issue, but an issue nonetheless. Let's make it a little bigger. Yeah, there are other issues. For example, 3 months ago is overflowing on a fairly thin device. I would assume most mobile devices are, let's select, I don't know, an iPhone 12 Pro. It looks decent. If anything, there are other issues. There's too much black on the right. But we'll see. We'll see if AI can fix this. While that's happening, I'd like to, do another one, but let's see. I'll take a look at the issue and work on it. I'll first work out a plan, access the knowledge being the repo notes for code_head_x daily code and auto-generated knowledge. Auto-generated knowledge for this. Unsure what this is. Let's see. Interesting. That's very cool. It understood my code and generated a lot of context around it. Cool. Let's wait for it to finish. Let's see what it's doing right now. Devin is working. It's viewing the issue. Yeah, it's fairly slow, so we'll wait for it to finish. Let's look at the planner. Clone the repo if needed. Investigate the code base. Plan approved equal to suggest plan. If not plan approved, 002. If it is approved, then execute the plan. Alrighty. These are the steps it's performing right now. And I would assume after the plan is created, it'll execute the steps of the plan one after the other. So we'll wait for it to finish. Alrighty, folks. It's doing a bunch of follow-ups, which is great. For example, my log file isn't up to date. It's trying to update it. But before that, it did create a pull request for me. So let's check it out. Oh, okay. It probably changes package lock or something. Yeah, sorry, yarn lock. But let's look at the change. Magnifying glass, class name equal to size/6. And all right, it changed the size of an icon, content search. Content search. Or did I give it a wrong issue? Nope. Yeah, I don't think it was able to do what it was supposed to do. I'm doubting my code base now. Is it not? Is there not enough context in there that an AI is not able to solve such a simple issue? I don't know if this will fix it. This looks like the wrong place for it, honestly, because our tracks exist over here and it's probably trying to fix something over here, unless that's where it was supposed to be fixed. And I don't understand the issue. Let's see. I was there. Sorry, my bad. It was indeed here that the problem existed. Yeah, I'm the dumb guy, of course. AI is smart. So in the search bar is where the issue was, which was here. And it increased the size of this search icon, which is very, very cool considering it does look a little small. I don't know how it figured out whether that it needs to increase in size. So that's good. The other thing it did was it updated yarn log, which is great. And sorry, this looks like the wrong pull request. The other thing it did was it changed the height to be, or it retained the height to be 400 pixels, but it made it 300 pixels on a smaller screen, which probably will fix it. Well, it seems like it did fix a simple issue. Can I search for something? Type script. The current issue was this. There we go. Oh, that's a fairly obvious issue. Much better. And what it did is, let me change the styles over, just apply it over here and see if it does fix it. It changed, where is 400? There you go. It changed h-400 to be md:h-400 and otherwise h-300 pixels. All right, sorry about that. Let's try it one more time. I'm going to have a single row over here. And currently, does the issue exist? Let's try it out. It indeed exists. This photo sort of becomes very pixelated. And the fix that it added was it made the height of this, wherever 400 pixels is right here, it made it 300 on a smaller screen. Let me make it 300 generally. And see if that fixes it for a smaller screen. Let's make it smaller, and it seems like it does not. I would assume it does fix it a little bit. Like if the issue originally started at this point, it now starts at this point, but does not solve the issue at hand, which probably makes sense because AIs aren't very visual. I'm assuming it's not taking screenshots and forwarding it to an AI to test this. So it's really hard to test for an AI whether or not a visual fix is right. So that's the AI fix, even though it was smaller compared to, the other person's fix. This is the original fix that the other person made. And let's look at the AI fix. That's the one. The AI fix was just 2 lines of code and no reason for this one. It was pretty much this, which did not fix it. But if you look at the change that 𝗥𝗲𝗳𝗲𝗿𝗶 made, it's much more lines of code. Firstly, it does fix it. Like I'm sure there's a screenshot or a video here. So if you look at it, as you scroll down, it does, it pretty much fixes the issue. This thing is not stretching out. And if you look at the changes, surprisingly, he's increased the height for throughout. And over here, rather than having just an image right next to some text or whatever, this content header and title, he still wrapped it inside a div where he added item center to probably vertically align it, added some more gap. And I would assume this is what helps, in making sure it doesn't stretch because there's padding on, oh, that's a bigger screen, my bad. So this won't fix it. This probably fixes it. On a smaller screen, the width and height is 16. On a bigger screen, it's 20. It's pretty much hard-coded here, so there's no reason for it to stretch. We've hard-coded the width and height on a smaller and a bigger screen. That way, this image isn't stretched. So that makes sense. A more elaborate fix, but indeed one that works. And as I said, I don't think the AI is to blame here. The reason this did not work for an AI probably is because it's a front-end issue. So maybe it would be good for us to try a backend issue as well. Let's do that next. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt second time and see if it is able to solve a backend issue that may exist in this repository, although I'm unsure if it does. If it doesn't, then I'll fabricate an issue and see how it performs. All right, folks, I wasn't able to find an issue, so I fabricated one. It's a mixture of front-end and back-end, but front-end should be fairly simple on this one. The issue is that if you go to the profile section here, you see your name that comes from Google and your email. You should be able to edit this name. So you should have a pencil icon over here. When you click on it, this should become an input field. You should be able to change your name, and then you should be able to click on a button here that lets you update your name. That would involve some changes on the back end, some changes on the front end, but fairly simple, full stack issue. So I would assume it's very clean and well structured as to what needs to be done. So I think Devin should be able to solve it. Let's go back to the landing page wherever you reach. Oh boy. Over here, and let's ask it to please fix this specific issue. And let's see how it does. Again, it'll take a long time, so I'll wait for it to finish and then we'll talk back. It's 4:32 right now, so let's see how long it takes. Should I compete with it? It's 4:32. That means I'm a little sleepy. Let me see how hard would it have been for me to figure it out while it's coding it itself. I'll try to code it as well. Maybe directly over here. I don't want to clone it locally. App, I would go to profile and page.tsx. User detail form, that's over here. So components / user detail form. And over here, I see the user name. So here I would, this will be like, yeah, this will be hard. Not hard, but like figuring out a lot of updating the input component wherever that is coming from. It's probably a /CN component. So modifying it to add like, an end icon, which can be a pencil in one case and, a submit or a cross icon in the other case. So yeah, that wouldn't be, it would just involve making this input component more generic, which right now probably just directly comes from /CN. So yeah, it would take me effort for sure. Like I know what to do, but it'll just take a lot of human effort to do it. That's one. And then on the backend, I would assume it should be straightforward. If I go to db/Prisma and look at the schema, the user table or the account table, one of these probably has the names, the user table. Yeah, there's a name field over here. So I just need to expose an endpoint or a server action, whatever we use over here. There is app/API. So I would just, not too much here though. Revalidate and add tracks, which makes sense. Like we don't let the user do a lot of things, but let's see if we have some server actions somewhere. Auth admin marketing assets. Yeah, I don't see anything. Profile page.tsx. Yeah, I'd probably add an API endpoint somewhere here that says profile name, get the server session, and then, for example, add tracks probably gets the server session as well. So get the server session, update the username. Straightforward. Backend should take, 5 minutes to do for a human, and frontend might take me, 20 to 30 minutes, honestly, because it's making sure we create it in a very generic fashion, specifically this input component that right now is coming directly from /CN is my guess. shad/UI/input. Where are you? There you go. This is auto-generated from /CN. I need to update it to accept more props, specifically like an end icon or end icons, which could be more than one. So that will be the difficult bit here, or the most time-consuming bit. This would probably, if you have to put it in human hours, actually might take me around an hour to do. Backend probably 10 minutes. This guy though, let's see where it's at. I forgot. I think we started at 4:32 or 4:22. It's been 3-5 minutes. 4:32. So it's only been like 4 minutes right now. Let it run, and I'll join you back once it finishes. All right, folks, that's not too bad actually. It took it 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, it has written this. Let me show you guys. The backend code looks exactly how I would write it. Gets the session, checks if the user session exists, gets the name from the request, and then updates it in the database. So nothing out of the ordinary here. Oh boy. I worry this is going to return the user their password. It'll be hashed, which is not a problem, but I worry this is not good. We'll see though. Why is it returning the user? No idea. And then here on the front end, it seems like it did what it's supposed to do. Handle submit, which sends a fetch request to the backend. Set it is editing to false. A state variable called is editing, which toggles. Where there's a div with an input, and if is editing is not true, then you render the editing or the pencil icon. And when you click on it, you set the is editing variable to true, which would render these two buttons, which look right. There's a button to submit, and then there's a button to cancel, which sets is editing to false, resets the name as well. So it looks decent. There's nothing wrong here. The only problem, of course, is I need to test it locally now to see how it looks. And the other doubt that I had, this may or may not be a vulnerability. How do I pull their branch locally is the next question. So let me go to the repository locally first. cd projects / daily dash code. Let me pull the latest. It's been a while since I've pulled it. Now I need to get their branch locally. So git remote add origin Devin would be interesting, honestly. Devin AI integration is an app. Ugh. How do you clone their code base locally? Or sorry, pull their branch locally? I have no idea, honestly. Git fetch origin. Can you fetch it from origin? Does it push? I don't think it has access to push to my repo directly in a branch, but hey, I could be wrong and I was wrong. It does have it. That's scary. It can push to a branch. Yeah, Devin can push directly to my origin branch. That's not great. Sorry, the origin remote. That's not great, but okay. Let's go into the Devin branch. That looks right. Let's do an npm install in case I'm missing some dependencies locally. Followed by, or whatever, a yarn install would have been better, honestly. Yarn install followed by yarn dev. And let's see how it looks. Functionally, it should work. It might look bad, and the vulnerability that I'm worried about is the only thing. But as expected, an issue that's very easy for a human to understand, it's probably very easy for it to understand. But if I give it something along the lines of, I don't know, change something in the source code of 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗀𝗀𝗀, I would assume it would hallucinate really bad. But we'll see. Time-wise, much better than how long it would have taken me if I was doing it flat. If I was doing it with an AI helper, probably similar. But if I was not using Super Maven or GitHub Copilot, it'll probably take me longer to do this. And it's not too bad to just delegate it to this guy and I don't know, do something else, and then eventually make fixes on top in case they're needed. So let's see. I'm excited. Finally, the first issue which I feel it's close to solving, or it has actually solved. All right, let's open it up. Let's log in. That doesn't look great. Login with Google isn't working locally. Alrighty. Client ID is required. I need to update the .env, which would mean I would need to move off the screen for a bit because my .env has my prod database. Don't ask why. All right, folks. I was able to run it locally. The first issue we see right here is the changes that Devin made. Specifically, let's look at the PR. One change it made was it added use state over here. It did not exist before. And hence, it should have made this a client component. It did not do it. So let me quickly do that. API components. I think it's just easier for a human to do this than, reprompt. Let's see if that's the only thing it missed. Let me go to the profile section now. I see my name. I see a very nice pencil icon, honestly. Click on the pencil icon. Dude, it's pretty good. A few things are good. For example, name did not update here, but if I refresh, whoa, did not update for some reason. What did I miss? Edit. The UI is pretty fancy, basically, as good as I would expect it to be. Click on this. Update did get back a a 200, and surprisingly did not send me back my password. Interesting. Why is that? I'm sure I'll look into that later. The first thing to see is why is this not actually updating my name? What did I send in the payload? I sent the new name. All right, folks, sorry the recording stopped. The feature is fine. The problem is we store the name in the session. So if I ever go here and update the name to something new, it won't immediately update everywhere. The reason being we get this name over here from the session variable. So I need to relog in basically. If I log out and then I log in again, then I will see the change basically. Whatever change I made a while back, that's 123, because this name is not coming from the database, it's coming from the session. There is no easy way to fix that. You have to update the session cookie, which won't be very easy. Or you can just get these details from the database, which makes more sense, honestly. Name probably anyways shouldn't be something that should be stored in your session. It should be fetched from the database whenever needed. Even the email, I would say, just the ID should be stored in the session. So that is why you would probably need a human here. It'll be very hard for me to, I can ask this guy to fix it, but pretty sure it'll just be easier to write it myself. Or, you need an architect here or whatever, a computer engineer, computer person here to come in and figure out which of the two routes to take. Either refresh the session whenever the user changes their name, so that, the change persists across a refresh. Right now, it doesn't persist over here. If I refresh, I don't see my updated name until I log out and relog in. And the other thing is just, fetch these details from a database. So long story short, it did well. The UI is clean, which is something I'm very surprised about, because I don't know if AIs can see very well right now. But this guy, this is what I would expect. So I would use it for this for sure. The other thing is the backend vulnerable? It isn't, but that's probably because we don't have, if you look at our Prisma schema, we don't have passwords at all. We use OAuth. That is why the user table is fairly small. It has these things only, which is what gets returned to the front end. But if there was a password here, the password would get returned to the front end, which isn't necessarily a problem. It's your own password. It's hashed also. But still something you shouldn't return to the front end. Doesn't matter either way, because you don't have a password over here. It's not a problem. So long story short, it did fairly well. Is it mergeable? No. I'm going to give it one last shot and tell it what it needs to fix. The name is stored in the session. So we need to refresh the session after the name is changed, or fetch the name from the DB. Right now, I only see the updated name after I refresh. I had to write log out, honestly. That's probably on me. But we'll see how this performs, and this will probably be the end of it. Final thoughts. It's decent. I'd rather just use an LLM locally than, use this. Like, it's very fancy. Like having an AI engineer that's, pretty expensive, $500 a month. There's more pizzazz than, substance here is what I think. I think it would have, what's a better product is, something closer to an AGI or a better LLM than a lot of layers on top. Even though this is great, like it looks very fancy from the outside. Unsure if it will be super sticky, which is not to say AI won't come. AI will probably come. But it'll probably come directly to your own VS Code rather than in a cloud environment. Historically, cloud environments, be it something like Replit, have been tried to be used as development environments. All your developer code is there, GitHub code spaces, but rarely does that actually work. This is slightly better. It does have your code base on the cloud, but it also commits to GitHub. But that said, unsure if this is 10x better outcome compared to a local LLM that I would just tab away and review right there and just push and merge, than hand over everything to an AI and look at a pull request. Those are the current thoughts. That said, if it can be a little faster, and I wouldn't call it accurate. I think it's fairly accurate. It's probably as good as it can get, considering it's handling everything autonomously. But if more work can be done on the LLM layer rather than all the polishes around, that might make this super interesting. Also, the pricing I think is a little too aggressive at the moment, but I'm sure someone will create an open source version, or there'll be price wars, and eventually it'll get priced down. I think it's like, I'm sure the margins here are crazy at $500. So I would assume this gets squeezed down to $100 whenever, or maybe even lesser, as the market sort of matures. But right now, super expensive, not super helpful. $20 super Maven is great, are my current thoughts. But we'll see how it matures over time, and other products come and if they outcompete them. Those are my current thoughts. With that, I'll wait for this to finish. I'll show you the final results and we'll call it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.